Hello, and thanks for joining us on Encore. Coming up in today's show, Steven Spielberg's in the hot seat. The director talks to us about bringing his high-tech talents to the quirky children's literature favourite, the BFG. Domestic bliss at the cinema. There's a family focus in a new crop of summer releases here in France. And for those who need a few explosions with their films, Independence Day is back with a sequel 2 decades after the first apocalyptic action adventure. He's a 24-foot-tall vegetarian who collects and distributes sweet dreams to sleeping children, and he's better known as the BFG. Roald Dahl's fictional creation has been a firm favourite among children for more than 30 years. Now, Steven Spielberg has given him the Hollywood treatment. France 24's Genie Godula sat down with the multi-award-winning director at the Cannes Film Festival, where he told us how he brought some childhood memories into this new film.
Never look behind the curtain.
Steven Spielberg, hello.
Hi, how are you?
The BFG is based on a children's book, of course, by Roald Dahl. How did you first learn about the book?
Through my kids. I basically, got the book. I had known about, Matilda, James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, especially the Chocolate Factory. So I knew Roald Dahl, and the BFG was written in '82, the same year that E.T. was released. And I remember getting the book and reading it to my first child, who was born in '85, and I think I read it to my first child around '89. And I think I read it to him in Spain when I was making Empire of the Sun. And I remember playing the BFG and feeling really tall, and feeling also lonely, because it's also a story of two very lonely people who find each other from two different worlds. And it was quite a kind of epiphany, hearing myself reading Dahl's words to my first child, and I've since then read it to a lot of my kids.
This one sounds like you.
There are bad dreams here too.
Yeah.
I know that you have said in the past that E.T. was inspired in part by you trying to deal with your parents' divorce.
Yeah.
And what really touched me in BFG is that scene where he's getting bullied by the bigger, stronger
Yeah.
giants. Were you ever bullied as a kid?
Yeah, I was bullied in high school, in elementary school. I was bullied, and I could relate to that. And obviously, it's a scene I sort of did from my own memory. But I was never bullied that way. I was never taken to the top of a hill, stuck on a garbage truck, and sent hurtling toward two cars coming at me like roller skates. I was never bullied that way.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. But the movies allow us to take our own life and magnify it and exaggerate it and make it more than it ever was.
The BFG marks the first film you've ever directed for Disney.
Yes.
What's your favorite Disney movie that you like showing to your kids or grandkids?
I think my favorite Disney movie has always been and will always be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Why?
I just love that picture. I just love what it says, once again, about embracing our differences. Mm. And as Snow White has to do with each of the disparate personalities of the Seven Dwarfs. And it's a story about jealousy and envy. And it's a story also about your heart will triumph evil. And I just love those basic precepts of fairy tales. And, BFG, it's my first fairy tale.
Mm. Which one of all your films that you've made would you like to be remembered for, if you could pick one?
Oh, I can't answer that question. It's too difficult. It's not even up to me to suggest to anybody that they should remember anything about the movies because I said so. It's really up to people, not to me.
So much of the BFG is about dreams, about what the BFG himself calls these golden fizz wizards.
Right.
What's your golden fizz wizard? Do you still want to direct a Bond movie, for example?
No, I don't want to direct. I never wanted to direct a Bond movie, not since the '70s when I asked twice and they wouldn't let me direct one. So I've gotten over that. I've gone past that. No, my golden fizz wizard is finding an idea that will turn into a movie that today, talking to you, is an unknown. It's out there somewhere. And that's always been my golden fizz wizard, is when that little idea happens and you suddenly wake up and you say, that's what I want to do next.
You've got 7 children, you mentioned before. You have grandkids now. Do they realize how cool their grandpa is?
No, but they realize how cool my reading skills are because I continue to read to all of them.
You've got a lot of projects coming up, almost 1 movie a year for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Just a word on the next Indiana Jones. How are you preparing for that, and why do you still like the franchise?
I'm not preparing for Indiana Jones because I'm not making it till 2018, so it's not in the foreground of my thinking right now. I'm preparing for a movie, Ready Player One, that I'm doing next, and then another movie, The Kidnapping of Edgardo Martara, with both of which have Mark Rylance in it.
Well, exactly. I was going to ask you about Mark Rylance. You directed him to an Oscar just last year for Bridge of Spies. What is it about him that makes him so unique and such a great BFG?
Well, he's just a complete savantic prodigy on stage, and he's just now made the transition to film in an effortless way. You know, on stage you have to be bigger to reach, as they say, the little old lady in the back row. And in film, you know, you have to be quiet sometimes. The camera sees everything. When you think you're not doing anything with your face or your eyes, the camera sees deeply into what you're really doing that you think you're not doing. And Mark made that transition from theater to film without any help from me. He just somehow knew that he wanted his Rudolph Abel to be mysteriously quiet and not to give away anything about himself. And yet he told us so much about himself in his minimalism. And with BFG, it's the opposite. He wears his heart on the sleeve. He's ashamed of his language. He's awkward. I mean, it was a big performance. And to be able, 2 movies in a row, to see Mark, changing color from black and white to color, like Dorothy stepping into the land of Oz. That's how it felt, going from black and white to color, to see Mark Rylance going from Rudolph Abel to the BFG. It was just a gift for me to witness that.
I'll be right here.
You were talking about E.T. before, E.T. that also premiered here in Cannes 34 years ago, and I would imagine this is a bit bittersweet for you because both films were written by Melissa Matheson, who we lost just last year, I think.
Yeah, it's just been a terrible loss for all of us, and Melissa has been, you know, ever since I met her on the set of Raiders of the Lost Ark in Tunisia, and our kids have grown up in the same town, and Melissa and I have been in touch with each other all these years, and then we did E.T. together, then BFG together, but she was on the red carpet. She was there. I felt she was there.
Steven Spielberg, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Whether it's family tensions or family ties, domestic setups have always been a central theme in cinema, and a crop of summer releases here in France is no exception. From animated fun to a humorous look at the logistics of step-parenting, Laurent Berthache takes a look.
It can be endearing, broken up, or dysfunctional. This summer, 20% of movies in French theaters will revolve around this theme, family. Topping the box office since it was released on June 22nd, Finding Dory tells the story of a forgetful blue tank fish who goes off on a peculiar quest.
Hi, I'm Dory.
Name's Hank.
I have to find my family.
It's not like I have a map of this place.
A map! Good idea. You take me to the map. I figure out where my parents are. Oh, boy.
There are the themes of perseverance, overcoming the odds, finding the true meaning of family. And these all add the heart to Finding Dory.
Romanian director Cristi Puiu offers a darker take on family in Sierra Nevada. When Larry travels to Bucharest with his wife to commemorate his father's death, old ghosts begin to resurface. The scenario starting point was to blend the more general story with the personal story. There's a tendency to believe that the things that happen to us, that information about our family and ourselves, is something that we know, that we possess, and that there's no mystery. But that's not true. 3 hours of long takes in a narrow apartment and conversations that border on the absurd help paint the picture of a family where everyone is searching for their own truth.
v-ar fi făcut regele ăsta al vostru, care nici măcar român nu era, v-ar fi făcut el blocuri în care să stați și v-ar fi electrificat el țara, da? De ce criminali? Pentru că le-a dat de mâncare la săraci?
In another register, French director and king of the family comedy Gabriel Julien Laferrière is back to give his own take on step families.
Alors voilà, on a pris les choses en main. À partir de maintenant, c'est vous, les parents, qui viendrez habiter chez nous, ici, à tour de rôle.
On a besoin d'un père et d'une mère, chaque soir et le week-end.
In between two card games, these young actors tell us what family means to them.
Sa famille, c'est fait pour passer des bons moments.
Ça nous aide à aller plus loin.
C'est des gens sur qui on pourra toujours compter, qui seront toujours là pour nous.
A reminder that children can sometimes be far more responsible than their parents.
In the eyes of the director, we become these stupid teenagers faced with this group of children who are a bit fed up.
We're never on time, always rushing, working. It's about this new generation of working, independent women who also have children and are trying to lead their lives.
We'll leave you with just a little more movie news. Independence Day: Resurgence is out in French cinemas this week. The sequel comes 20 years after the original cinematic alien invasion. Here's a clip to whet your appetite. Remember to check out our website for more arts and culture news. You can also follow Encore on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.